Gear up and strap in and get ready to embark on an epic adventure with the Cricks Volkswagen podcast on everything Amarok, born from tough love. From epic road trips to off-road adventures, we'll share stories, talk tech, premium designs and unsurpassed levels of comfort and safety and insights to fuel your passion for exploration. Welcome to the Amarok podcast, where the journey begins.
Well, g'day, it's Dean Stewart here from Cricks Volkswagen, Sunshine Coast. We've taken the liberty of jumping into a podcast for the first time, and the question could be why? And I think it's important for people to know that we were the number one commercial vehicle dealer in Australia for 2023, and also 5 out of the last 8 years we've been the highest Amarok selling dealer. So that dual cab it's the jewel in the crown for us, and it's really created a difference on the Sunshine Coast that when you're driving around, you see how many of these things are on the road and off-road for that matter. It's unbelievable. So with me, I've got my sales manager, Trent Livingston. G'day, Trento.
How you going?
Good to see you, mate. Thanks for being part of this. It's something a bit new. Amarok, why do you reckon you boys are just flying the way you are?
Perfect storm here on the sunny coast, I reckon. Yeah, it's a great area for the vehicle. We've got so much on our doorstep. You head 5 minutes west, there's rural country. You head half an hour north, we've got beaches as far as the eye can see that you can drive on. There's lots of development here with builders and there seems to be a plentiful supply of people needing to tow not only caravans but horse floats and boats and
really lifestyle driven, eh?
Yeah, there's so much here for us to sink our teeth into with such good products.
And it's one thing to have a good product, but I suppose what about the team behind you that help that product get on the road or off-road? It's taken a while to get where you are, isn't it? And
yeah, absolutely.
Create that.
They're a bunch of legends, the guys that I deal with, that actually look after the brand so well.
Well, anyone listening to this probably would know the name Jimmy Twentyman.
Yep. Yeah, quite a few people on the coast would know that name.
Well, I did the math. He's done a quarter of the total commercial vehicles sold since 2010.
That doesn't
He's a freak.
Me. Yeah, absolutely.
Unreal.
Yeah. I know he's sorry for all the traffic out there on Nicklin Way as well, but yeah, no, it's just what we do. Yeah, look, the guys they've been with the brand for a long time. They know what they're talking about.
I think it's a space where you don't want people speaking nonsense. You really want to run into a professional who knows what they're talking about, who's actually easy to talk to. They're a real person. They've experienced the car because they've owned them. And I think that's what separates your team a lot from others is they actually drive the product. They love the product. They're engrossed in it. And it's not the brand as a whole. Yes, it includes vans, but their real passion is Amarok, isn't it?
Well, Jace drives one and owns one himself. Jimmy's owned them in the past, and I think he actually wants to get another one soon. They understand the entire market that they're selling to, what everyone is actually going to use their car for, and it's up to them to obviously sort of talk to each person individually and figure out exactly how they're going to use that car and what their car needs to do for them. So whether it be putting an alloy tray on the back or a canopy or a bull bar, like they understand all of that and how it should work for the customer.
Yep.
Once they've sort of sat down and had a chat to that person for quite some time and deciphered what they're going to need the vehicle for. Yeah, I suppose solution selling, I reckon the guys are at the top of their game for it.
Yeah, we see that in the comments back from customers as well, don't we, when they're going, Jimmy was fantastic, Jason really helped me out, Lance did this, Trent helped out here.
Yeah.
But solution-driven stuff is more than just, looking at a brochure or ticking off a bunch of stats. We've seen it on cars. We know on different Amaroks what works, what doesn't work. You would have seen that over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Volkswagen's come up with this fantastic product, and we could sell the car just by itself. But at the end of the day, in that commercial world, there's so many different ways to use a vehicle and accessorize a vehicle, and it's up to the guys to actually really figure out what that car is going to be used with the customer and how they're going to use it and basically come up with the best solution for them. It might not just be a stock standard vehicle out of the showroom that the customer needs. They need something different than that.
Yeah.
They really get to the bottom of it and come up with some really good solutions for the customers.
And off the back of that, it might be a great time to introduce Lara Taddick, who is first and foremost a customer of ours. And I think we need to acknowledge that before we get into what Lara's day job is. But welcome, Lara. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Great to have you with us. So I suppose as a customer, let's just talk Amarok before we go a bit further than that with what you do around that product. But you've had you're under your third Amarok and into the new model now.
I am.
Yeah.
I think the relationship with Cricks Volkswagen and me and Amarok's started. We bought the business in 2016 and Nick, my husband, developed a relationship with Jimmy and Trent and Dean.
Well, you better mention which business because I haven't yet.
So Nick and I own ARB Maroochydore.
Terrific.
So we acquired that business or bought the business in 2016. So the relationship started with dealerships and we met you guys. And I think Nick saw that there was just so much potential with the Amarok, and ARB had started to produce accessories for them and they were growing. I think probably a little bit by default I got put into that car. So we bought one, but from the moment I got in, I loved it. And that's where the relationship started. Yeah, so I had my first one. I think it must have been early 2017. I think the first one was a 17 model.
Yeah.
And then
that was the very first V6.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're spot on.
Yep.
But you say by default.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose it's when you talk about default in your business, you're purchasing the cars and then you're selling your accessories from that vehicle?
Yeah, correct. So we like to call them display vehicles.
Yeah.
So they sit out the front of the store and we encourage customers to drive them if that's what they want, because we'd like them to test the suspension and that sort of thing. But then we encourage our sales team to take customers out there and look at the accessories, use the accessories, open drawers, that sort of thing. But then also I think just having the vehicles out the front of the store as you're driving down Sugar Road.
You can see
and it's great. So my bright blue Amarok, it's blue now, sits out the front of the store very often. So that's what I mean by default. So originally we think it's a great car and ARB are producing all these accessories for it. But then we just fell in love with it. But they've been great. So that's why I'm in my third one.
And looking at the last three vehicles that you've done up, they are literally a hamburger with the lot.
Fantastic.
They have everything on them.
Absolutely.
But let's wind back to your first one. Yeah, like you said, you bought the vehicle. We were all establishing relationships, getting to know you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then just so happened that in order for us to use an Amarok the way we wanted, this is my wife and I, we decided with you to do a trip out to Birdsville for a big red bash one year. So that was 2018. We got to see you most of the time we were following, but you were towing the AOR van.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose just maybe fill in a little bit about some of the trips you've done touring, how you use the vehicles. Obviously with ARB, you do a lot of off-road work.
Yeah, we've used the Amarok for, gone out bush. Beach, we do a lot of beach driving. I think that would probably be, and it's amazing off-road.
Yeah.
We were just out recently and it was just fantastic. But towing, I know Nick, we towed the AOR out to Birdsville and doesn't miss a beat. And then we've towed like a 17-foot zone with it. So it's they're amazing cars to tow with.
Yeah.
We've even been out to Stanthorpe with a zone as well, a big zone. So they're great cars, great vehicles for towing.
Yeah, but towing is one thing, but some of the other things you've got to be conscious of, I suppose, is when you're spending 8 or 9 hours in a car, all those other things that go with it. I found that the previous model compared to this new one, obviously there's a lot of changes and we'll talk about that soon. But the simplicity of the previous model was something I always enjoyed. It was easy, but it just did the right things. Seats were comfortable, great vision, robust engine, gearbox. It was from torque perspective, and probably going into a bit of trench territory here, but that was, easy, isn't it? In the cabin, and you have Milan in the back as well. So there's a bit there to take in when you're on a trip. It's
comfortable, quiet. I think that was when I was thinking about this, talking today, I was like, and it's fast.
It's important.
But when we're talking about the engine, you just mentioned the engine, I'm like, it's fast. That's one of the reasons I really like it.
Yeah.
And that's torque, isn't it? When it's, you can just take off from the lights and that sort of thing. So I love that. But it's comfortable. See, you know how you said you like the simplicity of the earlier models? I've found that this new model with the new screen and all the technology, I just use everything on it and I know how to use it.
Yeah.
I can't even use my iPhone properly. But I can use that screen. It's so easy and so user-friendly.
Because you don't have to put your glasses on.
Yeah, I think I'm using this car more.
It's very interactive.
Yeah. I'm using this car properly the way it probably should be compared to the way that I'd use the older models.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're always comfortable. They're just a great all-round. And I think that just because of the build quality as well and those sort of, the build quality and like the bit more European sort of finish, it's just a bit it's nicer than sitting in, say, like a Ranger or a Hilux, for instance, like a Toyota.
They're all built differently.
Yeah.
You're probably on a track here with the product that our sales team come up against often, which is, comparing other makes and models. And this is the thing where I think, okay, I'll get a Volkswagen. What am I getting? And it's nice to have a badge on the front, but it's got to be more than that. And you've probably just alluded to a little bit of that. But probably on that subject, Trent, do you want to dive in with anything you've seen, like especially coming from the previous model to this new one? So new model Amarok's been out. We did the launch in May, didn't we, at Your Mate's Brewing and Brewing Company? Yep. That was a great night. Yeah, we had an onslaught of people picking up cars that were on pre-order and getting out there in the traffic. So I suppose what's the general feedback been like, similar to Lara?
Yeah, so it's got some really big boots to fill coming off the back of that last Amarok that we had since 2011 right through to last year. But yeah, the feedback, I think, over the last, what are we now, sort of 11 months, is really solid. We're not seeing any issues with the cars at all in the workshop. Like normally, if there's going to be an issue, you'd know it by now, and there's no issues really that stand out on the vehicles at all, which is good. And the customers are really loving them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was always going to be a question mark about some crossover with another manufacturer that Volkswagen have, but I think it's really come into its own. It sits appropriately in the marketplace with the right features, priced competitively. What you get for your money is really good. Do you find that when, I suppose, you are stacking up against the competition, is that sort of finishing touches and quality something that others recognise?
Look, I mean, I've been with the brand now for 26 years, and something that has been ingrained in me right from the word go is the Volkswagen. All you have to do is put the customer in the car and the car will sell itself. Yeah. And it's not any different anymore, though it's still exactly the same with the new Amarok. The car will feel a lot nicer than everything out there on the market. We've done a lot of comparison testing. We've driven the Rangers, the Hiluxes, the D-Maxes. We've driven all those in comparison to the Amarok. You can get the Amarok and it's like...
Yeah. Well, you have that classic two-word liner, in a better experience than explained.
Absolutely.
That probably...
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, summarises where you're coming from. So if it's a feel, that's a difficult one to put in the brochure then. You got to drive it. That's the outcome on all this.
You have to drive it. Yeah, got to experience it. Even just the feel of it on the road with its power and the way the 10-speed auto will pull some of those engines along. And then also sort of seeing what you can do to the cars as well with accessories and stuff like that, with the likes of, some of the ARB equipment, but also the genuine accessories, which is still actually rolling out availability-wise, I should say.
Yeah. So it's funny, isn't it, off the back of our brand, Lara, being number one in Australia, you naturally get to have a bit of a pickup as long as you're giving good service and looking after people with their inquiries. Do you find that there's a bit of interaction between your staff and Trent's staff in relation to building a car to suit someone's particular interests in what they're going to do with the vehicle?
Oh, absolutely. I think our sales guys and Trent's team have an amazing relationship. There's constant talk, Jimmy and Jace, about what customers need, what kind of customers they are, what their expectations are. So, yeah, I think that relationship's really important. And I think Nick will go in or Grant as well and help your sales team, explain our products. So then they can better explain to your customers what the benefits of having our accessories. So I think that relationship works really well.
They'll only go so deep too. Our guys will be comfortable selling a bull barrel suspension and stuff like that. But your brand's obviously very in depth with what technical. You can get. So the guys will go sort of so far and then they've got enough trust to then go, okay, well, you actually need to go around and see the guys at ARB and they'll look after you from there. And they'll go around and obviously put it all together.
Exactly. It's great.
Package it up. The beauty of the vehicle too is it's got a good crossover. Would you like to just sort of give us a bit of an idea what type of customer is coming in and actually buying an Amarok at the moment? I was trying to summarise, but it's hard because it's actually pretty varied, isn't it, the type of people?
100%. I've touched on it before with what we've got access to here on the coast with rural and coastal and obviously lots of boating and caravanning and stuff like that. But there's right in the heavy fleet side of things as well. We look after a lot of fleet companies where they're buying multiple vehicles for staff purchases. We've got the builders and the plumbers and the electricians and stuff like that. They all have a sort of different purpose on the back of the vehicle with what they need and how they want to use it, with some alloy trays, some service bodies, some canopies, you name it. You've got the mums and dads that just basically want to go to the dump on the weekend and throw a heap of kids' stuff in the back and off they go. But it's still obviously, just a passenger car to go to the shops in and everything like that during the week.
But that's what you don't want to compromise when you're driving during the week as a day-to-day car and then use it as a ute on the weekend. You don't want to compromise on your drive quality.
No, you still want something that's comfortable and it's got all the safety and all the tech and stuff as well. And
well, up until last year when we got the new model on the decks, that was some of the equipment that we didn't have in the vehicle. What's that? You got lane assist and emergency braking, adaptive cruise control.
Yeah. So I think there's 32, Dino, 32 extra safety features over the last model Amarok, which, big difference. That's a lot.
Yep. And stuff that is for safety that you don't even know exists, but it's there.
Absolutely.
Which
it's
is
there when you need it.
Yeah,
it's there
exactly
when you need
right.
it. But yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of SUV buyers actually coming in and looking at the utes now as well because, look, I don't know, you can't hose the back out of an SUV, can you? And it's sort of, there's lots of sand here on the coast. It's just that practicality of the back of the ute. Obviously it's not a 7-seater like some of the bigger SUVs, which is something we don't play in, but it's just, we're dealing with everyone.
Yeah. So the caravanning side of it, how deep do you like to get into that because obviously there's some legalities around towing as well. Boys pretty up to speed with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's GVMs, there's GCMs, there's downbore weights, there's all this sort of stuff which the guys have to be right across. We're not going to try and sell you something that is not legal, so they have to be sort of wary of all of that. There is some really big caravans out there these days, so we have to obviously, quiz the customers on what they actually need the vehicle to do. But the product as a towing vehicle, I believe, is one of the clear head and shoulders above everything else in the market. I've towed with them myself just recently, and the fact you put the dimensions of the trailer or the caravan into the car, and then the car's side assistance systems will work exactly for that. You've got these intuitive factory fitted brake controllers which work beautifully as well.
Yep,
it's just like they're made to tow.
Yeah, and I suppose the benefit with your team that I feel is that people don't need to go from, I'll just buy the Amarok from Volkswagen and then I'll duck around to ARB and we'll talk that, and then I'll go to the caravan place and I'll do that. We're literally covering off, or you and your team are covering off all aspects of that. And if ARB Maroochydore fitting up Anderson plug, and then the question comes in about live wires, or there's 12-volt sockets for the back, and then we're all starting to just broaden the conversation out. It's funny, being number one in Australia for a few years now, for Amarok sales, you've seen and heard it all.
Yeah,
so you can make recommendations of what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah,
and
it's just being the middleman.
Yep.
Often, getting the wiring diagram to then pass on to ARB so that when they're doing the wiring on the 12-pin plug, it all goes through just so plug and play when the customer gets the car. There's a lot there in that space. There certainly is.
Yeah. How are you finding things, Larry? You keeping up with all these deliveries of the new model there?
Yeah, it's busy. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So did you want to touch on, I suppose, with this new one now, you got a few goodies on it already. I've seen Canopy finally came in, and then you've had the bull bar, or you got the summit bar on that one.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty much got everything on it now. I think it's done. It's got bull bars, side rail. So no, this one doesn't have side, but just bull bars.
Saw the steps there.
The steps,
take it up under the sill.
We've put the Old Man Emu BP51 suspension in, which has been amazing.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? The BP51s they're literally the Rolls Royce of what ARB offer. I know my ute, it's got the nitro, but it's about a 40 mil lift.
Yeah.
And then you've got other suspension that suits, well, I'm probably again busting into trends territory here, but there's everything and anything to suit a off-roader, which the BP51s are extraordinarily renowned for, through to a minor allowance for different rated leaf springs to tow. So you're just taking into account all this stuff. So I'll probably, again, busted into your territory here. But
that's right.
What else have we got on your car? We've got drawers and
we've got
fridge
drawers, fridge slide. I've got under vehicle protection. I've got an extra fuel tank because I don't like going to the fuel station. I like to fill it up.
long range tank in that one.
Long range tank, yep. And we've even got dual battery system. We can run a coffee machine and from the back of the car. I've even put a water bladder in, so I've got extra water. So if we go to the beach, we can hose ourselves down. Or if we're muddy in the bush, you can just wash yourself down. Roof racks, awning, and we've got the link system in as well. So that's the little iPad-y type thing that sits on your console that we, control your tyre pressure, your lights, everything's controlled from this little module. Yeah. And the compressor, obviously.
Yep. Coming off the beach, you don't have to worry about dropping into the servo. Well, unlike us having to probably go in and get fuel as well, you just keep going. So do you notice a marked difference between when you first picked it up and you had nothing on it because you were still waiting for a few accessories, and then you load it up a bit and it just settles the car down?
It does. Yeah, it really does. But I must admit that when I first got the car, and when I first got the car, it's got such a nice stance to it. I remember I'd come out of Woolies or whatever and go,
let's face it, that is a fair bit of what the chat is all about.
Look, it looks so cool.
Yep.
And I'd be like, yeah, that looks cool. And then we put the extra suspension on it, and then it looked even better.
Yeah.
And now it looks a bit more like, because it's got canopy, and it's a bit, it's a bit more of a tourer now, right?
Yeah.
Because the canopy was pretty much one of the last things to go on.
Yep.
Yeah, super practical, because like even, you just chuck everything in, and nothing gets wet. It's all waterproof, that sort of thing. It's just settled now. It's just, now that everything's on there, I feel like I know the car better, because as you get stuff on, it just changes the car a little bit, and you have to get used to driving it. But now that everything's on, it's a really comfortable. I know the car now.
I was just going to say, like, it's obviously your car to drive, because it looks amazing. It really does. It stands out. I see it buzzing around the coast here.
Yeah, there you go. Sticks out, doesn't it? That beautiful blue colour.
Yeah.
Do you have to fight Nick for the key?
Yes. Yes. It was because when the last beach bash we did, he was driving. We drove up to the beach and back again. He's like, this car, this is.
He was raving about it.
He was. I've never heard him like that yet.
I remember him at the end of the day on the UHF talking about that. And I was a few words we can't say in this podcast about how much he liked it. But anyway, hey, you just mentioned two words there, beach bash. Anyone listening is not going to have a clue what we're talking about. Did you want to just expand on that one?
Yeah. So, I mean, the beach bash was the first one in 2016.
Late
2016. Yep. I was shortly at the dealership after that, but biannually we do a beach bash, which is not bashing the beach up in any way. We look after their lovely beaches, but
we had to give it a name.
Yeah, we had to give it a name. It sounded good. But yeah, we take up about 20 customers and their vehicles up to Double Island Point for the day, and we put food on, basically. But the whole idea is getting them familiar with their vehicle in an environment such as going on the beach. It's actually surprising how many people buy a ute with really good intentions to go and do stuff like that, but never actually go and do it. And actually, some people actually won't know how to do it. Not that they will admit that.
I suppose, I know we try to treat it like an education process where the person doesn't really want to tell you they haven't been into beach conditions, but they're really wanting to be and be a little bit protected, I suppose, in that environment.
Safety numbers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
The ARB team are an integral part of that, because we actually get them from a bit of credibility, I suppose, in case there's an issue that we know Volkswagen well, but we may not know off-roading very well, even though I believe you and your team definitely know how to do that. It's more just a bit of credibility. But you put it all together and then it becomes a really good trip. Yeah, we look after their ferry pass, the beach pass with National Parks and Wildlife. And like you said, get them brekkie, ludge, a few coldies on the way, and
just ensure they've got their tyres down, how to do that. Obviously, we've got support vehicles in case someone gets stuck, but I think no one's ever been stuck in the whole time frame.
Choose the tides well. And there's a bit of education around that as well.
Yeah. And I think it's got a really good family feel. Like we spend the whole day yapping with customers about the Amaroks, and then they see the likes of the ARB cars that are up there, or some of the run-up utes we've got at work, and next minute they're sort of looking to what's the next step they can do with the Amarok, and it's a really good engagement with the customers, and I suppose it makes them feel like they're part of the family as well. So yeah, which is really cool.
They're great days. They're really good days. They're great for and meeting people, and I suppose your customers meet each other as well.
Yeah.
So they can share stories about their vehicles. I find a lot about they could compare and have chats about what their the similarities and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you see that
happening. Yeah.
What do you do here? How does that work? And I think even in that environment, there's nowhere to go. So it's not like they can dart off and do something else. They're actually there and saying, well, if we're going to talk cars or we're going to talk beach driving, we might as well do it while we're here. I know we've had a couple of them over the last few years, where it was a bit funny at the start. Not everyone was clicking, but by the time you get to Double Island Point and then everyone's relaxed, that nervousness about jumping on the beach is gone, and they just have a heap of confidence. And then
they're all buzzing by the time they get there.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's really good. And you touched on being part of the family. Do you referral and repeat business is a big part of what I see? Like, it just seems to be similar names, over a bit of time.
Massive, yeah. Well, anyone that sort of knows the sunny coast really well will know there's 2 degrees of separation, Dino?
I think it's 1.
Well, everyone knows someone that knows someone on the sunny coast, and that's a crucial part of how we probably like to look after the customers, because I can't say absolutely 100% of people out there are happy with everything we do, but Probably 99.9% of people are, which is a really good thing. It might be a little thing that we have to do to look after someone, but we do our best to look after everyone as best we can, knowing that they're going to tell a friend, or that friend knows that they got looked after when they didn't at another brand or something. So there's also all that goes on all the time. And we definitely have a lot of repeat customers, and there's lots of customers that are coming in to get that sort of type of service we give. So
when you think about the time frame, Lara's probably a bit immune to this because yours are business vehicles that you roll through. But the average person who's just buying a car every 4 or 5 years, they get to that point and then they have to ask themselves the question, do I buy another Amarok or don't I? And here we are, we're faced with a new model. So it's not like you're going from the same to the same.
Yeah.
What's some of the questions that are coming up at the moment that you're able to knock on the head pretty quickly?
In regards to the Amarok, I don't know, it's probably, we've got repeat customers coming back in that walk into the dealership and see the same salesperson they dealt with 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, that's a start. And then,
well, that makes you feel a bit more comfortable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And then these customers might have on their shopping list that they want to go and have a look at a different brand. So then they go and have a look at a different brand. And then, as I mentioned before, the experience they get with that other brand might not be anywhere near what they've experienced with us, or there's no beach bash that they've been invited to, or all these sorts of things that go along with it. And all of a sudden they're very comfortable just rolling into a new car again with us to get that sort of, that next 4 or 5 years of being looked after. So, but with the new model, it's sort of, I think we're in the clear now, but there's been a lot of feedback from our typical Amarok customers the last sort of decade or so, where there is a relationship with the Ford Motor Company now in the new model. It shares a lot of underpinnings with the Ford Ranger, and from a true Volkswagen head, that was a big concern right from the start.
Yep.
11 months on, seeing what customers are thinking of the vehicles, seeing what we actually can experience with the vehicles. And yeah, it's sort of, I think we're in the clear now.
Yep.
It is what it is. So
yeah, well, the alternatives, there are none. When it comes to Volkswagen, it is what it is with the Amarok.
Yeah.
But you do notice that we touched on it earlier about having you notice that it's a Volkswagen. I think that's that drive and jumping in it, and it's been a big experience. And repeat customers, it's easy, like I say, when you go from the same model into 5 years in that previous one. We had, the last Amarok was from 2011 to
2010, I think the first of them started coming out. There's a few hold-ups getting it into market in Australia, but
2023, so it's a long time in market.
Yeah,
so you could have updated 2 or 3 times in the same model pretty much.
Yep. Well, I think they did the one big facelift when they brought the V6 in about 2016, and yeah, I mean, that was a game changer here in the Australian market, that's for sure.
So say I had purchased a V6 in the turbo diesel entry-level core.
Mm-hmm.
So now I look at the entry-level Amarok and I'm looking at a 4-cylinder option with a turbo.
Yep.
What's the feedback been around those?
I actually prefer some of the, I prefer
you towed
some
the
of
van, didn't you, with the 4-cylinder?
The twin turbo 4, which is the next model up into the range.
Yep.
It's called the Life model, and it's got nearly as much torque as what the old V6 had at 550. The twin turbo's got 500 Newton meters, but it does have a 10-speed auto instead of an 8-speed auto. Like, there's lots of stuff going for it.
Yep.
I actually prefer the twin turbo compared to the V6. I don't need to tow all the time. As much as the fastness that Lara loves in the vehicles, I don't need to drag.
Well, there's something for everyone. Let's face it.
I'm just happy cruising around, and it's much better on fuel as well, and it's a really good package.
Yeah, we're back to this same thing. You just got to drive it, and then you'll know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk in the lot. So we've got a few cars dressed up, and I know you hang your hat on not trying to have too many demonstrators or just bulk stock. They've always got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, alloy wheels, tyres, suspension, bits and pieces. We've got the ARB display car that we've done up in the showroom as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. People who are wanting to individualize their vehicle, are they the sort of things that they're looking for? And you go, here they are, have a look, and we'll tailor this to suit what you're looking for.
It is crucial, Dino. I know during COVID times, there was dealerships down south that actually sold every single Amarok and van that they had because they had it and they could sell it. So they sold it, and then they had a dealership with nothing in it. I don't know, but I couldn't sell a car with getting someone to drive someone just pointing at a picture and a brochure saying they drive really good. It's the same with accessories and stuff as well. If someone walks into a dealership and said, I'm thinking about a bull bar and maybe a canopy and maybe that type of racking, suspension and wheels, I wonder what that would do to the car. And then all of a sudden you've got all these different types and flavours of things done to vehicles. People can see it, gives them a bit of confidence that we know what we're talking about. We know what offset to run on the wheels and all that sort of thing as well. So
true.
Yeah, it's crucial to basically looking up to the customers and seeing how we can help them.
So here we are in 2024 and we're off the back of COVID, just no drama now. But what's the availability like of vehicles?
Amarok's is generally pretty good. Some of the top end models are still a lengthy delay.
That's also due to their popularity, isn't it? So you've got
there's plenty of orders in the system.
double-edged sword.
Yeah, absolutely. But we have got a little bit of stock rolling through now, and I suppose the go-to model, which is that entry model V6, and also some of those twin turbo 4s and stuff as well. Availability is quite good heading into financial year, but they are selling quickly too.
Yep. Lara, probably sounds a bit weird coming out of my mouth, but from a female's perspective, let's touch on that, because I think it's obvious that in any relationship, we're always going to have, okay, are we both happy with the way this vehicle is? What sort of stuff crops up? So we're talking utilities here. So you mentioned earlier about it feels like a car. It's got all the intuitive, interactive stuff for anyone considering an Amarok. Anything further to add there?
Well, I think you see more and more women, don't you, driving dual cabs around now.
Absolutely.
I know just school drop-off. There's just so many of them now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just think, they're such a good all-round vehicle. Like, I got a son and I've got a dog. Then the dog comes pretty much everywhere with it. Everything just goes in the car, chuck it in, drop-offs, shopping.
So you've got the Aventura model. So you've got the surround cameras.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Easy to park, so easy.
Yeah.
I know I have my mum with me sometimes and she's like, I don't know how you can park this thing. It's just easy. Just
It's
look
not
at
small.
the,
It's not small.
Yeah, but it's just the cameras make it so much. The sensors, when you're too close, I'm notorious for going too close to things. All of those features just make it a great car to drive.
It takes away any of those inhibitions about, will it do what I want it to do? There's so many of those features.
Especially because they are a big car. Reversing and backing in small spaces, I think that's probably, but with the cameras and the sensors, it's so easy.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you had the automatic brake go off when you go to hit something and it goes, no, not today?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Big red flash.
I actually found when I jumped in, it took me about a month to get used to this new one. So I drove that Panamericana for, how long did I have that? 3 months, something like that. But yeah, it wasn't until I did a drive out to Toowoomba and I just relaxed. But it took me a while because like I said earlier, I really love that previous model. I like the simplicity. I didn't need all the whiz bangs. But I mean, now, so long down the track, I'm so used to it to have a vehicle without it. Even when we trade one of the old ones, I go pop it on our used car lot and you just sort of recognize, okay, yeah, she's a bit better now.
Yeah.
But it did take me a while. Just that adjustment to, hey, I deal with cars every day. But yeah, about a month, just settle in, feel relaxed, didn't have to think about, like you said earlier, using all the buttons and where everything is on the screen. It's like, you do get used to it. It's like anyone that hops out of a car, which has indicators on the right instead of the left. Yeah, it takes a day, doesn't it, of putting the wipers on. You've worked it out fairly quickly. Yep. Yeah. So commercial vehicles operates fairly much uniquely in the Volkswagen landscape. Trent, do you want to expand on that a little bit for those listening?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people come into a Volkswagen dealership that we've got there and unbeknownst to, I suppose, the general customer is that it's just one brand, which it kind of is. But at the end of the day, Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles is a separate brand underneath the Volkswagen Group. The Volkswagen Group is obviously one of the largest vehicle manufacturers in the world. And I think they've underneath their 16 brands or so, they've got underneath them Commercial Vehicles as a standalone brand. There's a lot of different stuff that happens overseas in Germany, which is completely separate to the passenger vehicle brand. It's a unique sort of franchise within a franchise, so to speak.
Yeah. I suppose I look at it going, okay, well, I might run the business, but I treat it like two franchises. I've got passenger vehicles that operate all on their own. We have separate sales teams. So that is what makes your team very unique, is that you've got your blinkers on.
Yeah.
You're one-dimensional. You just deal with commercial vehicles. Yeah. You get the support from the factory too, individually. And I think, that we've been able to accept that over time, the assistants, like for us as the biggest dealer in Australia, they're leaning on us for information, aren't they? And give us feedback here and what's working, what's not working. Yeah. Does this color work? Does that accessory work? Does this option, does the demonstrator assistance help, yada, yada. They're all things that, particularly you get asked on a regular basis.
Yeah. And the Amarok's I suppose with what we can do here to them locally with accessories and stuff is sort of the vans from the factory are complex to start with. I think they're the largest van range in the world, and there is literally millions of ways you can order the vans in terms of colours and options. There's hundreds of options on each particular model. I think there's 62 different crafter models, I think, off the top of my head. And then there's hundreds of options you can get on those. Yeah, we need to know what we're doing when we're ordering stock in especially the van world. But it has to be stuff that suits the customers here locally, and then we need to obviously help them with what they need to do to it, because that's a whole different space again as well. Yeah, it's very complex.
So one of those crafter van customers that you're talking about is actually a gentleman by the name of Todd Waters. So Todd's an amazing guy, motocross rider, Australian champion for MX1 in 2019, ridden in America, ridden in Europe, started professionally at 18, just unreal, gun rider. He bought a crafter office, and I suppose him and I, with an interest in bikes, started having a little bit of a chat. Then when it came time for the new Amarok to come out, I think for me, I could have just let that opportunity go through to the keeper and we just do what we do because we're Cricks Volkswagen, we'll make it work. But I thought here's a chance for us just to do something a little bit different and also tap into a little bit of Todd's audience. I asked Todd whether he'd like to be an ambassador for the new Amarok. So I know you guys have met Todd, amazing guy, like what an athlete, runs a team now with Husqvarna. And as a team owner, I suppose, looking after himself as the lead rider plus MX2, MX3 riders, he's got his hands full. There's no doubt about that. But the Amarok sort of fits into that nicely. The other avenue of why I thought that would work for us is Amarok V6 a few years ago became one of the sponsors of Transmoto. For the uninitiated, if you're not into dirt bikes, this is a unique teams event that goes for 8 or 10 or 12-hour events over a Sunday. So the teams event means you can ride a lap, come in, swap transponders, your mate goes out, rides a lap, etc. But it's a good chance everyone gets together on a Saturday, gets the bike scrutineered, you all go in and have a good night together and then do some racing the following day and compare your times and give each other a little bit of curry. But it's good with that tie-in with Transmoto and then with Todd coming along, and I think he fitted our culture really well. We share a few similar values when it comes to how we run our own teams. So Todd was at our launch. I think he spoke wonderfully well, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. The beauty of Todd being on board is, I suppose for us, we've opened up our brand now to hopefully a bit of a new audience. Just to go, hey, this is who we are and this is who we surround ourselves by.
It's definitely the audience. I went to the Transmo a couple of years ago, and when you go into that paddock, all of the vehicles are there. Like you've got utes, as far as the eye can see, with big trailers,
yeah,
with their dirt bikes and workshops and stuff. And then you've got the big vans as well.
Yeah.
And if you've seen Todd's van, like it's decked out with a workshop and everything you could ever want for dirt bike riding is in there.
Yeah.
It's definitely a market for us as well.
Yep. So we've done a bit of marketing with Todd, and off the back of launching the Amarok, we've been able to put together a bit of a collaboration. One of the other things that Todd did over COVID was produce some riding wear, and so he does really good pants and jerseys and bits and pieces that all go together for these riders. I think we did a bit of a collaboration for the first 70-odd customers that bought a vehicle. Yeah, ended up with one of these T-Dub jerseys, which was a good thing to do.
And they were all individualised.
Yeah,
they were great.
With a number
and a name. Number on a name.
Number and a name,
I wear mine all the time.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, we've enjoyed working with Todd, so that's been great. So here we are probably just trying to, I suppose, stitch all these last little bits together. So I look at what number one's been all about, and for us, we've actually been number one before with Amarok. I don't think we quite celebrated it before like we have now, and I think it's because it doesn't come around every year. I also think it's a tip the hat to your team, so well done for that. But I also think that in reference to what does that mean for anyone listening, a consumer thinking, what am I stepping into here? I just think that there should be a real sense of knowing, okay, these guys, A, know what they're talking about, B, have my interests in need, because that's something where I think we listen well, or your team listen really well, and then apply what we can. You've got a franchise that supports you. You're ordering the right stock. We integrate with suppliers like ARB Maroochydore to get what we need to make it right for people. You can see it on the cars. We're a one-stop shop. Am I missing it? I think I could just keep going here, but I see testimony to that for anyone interested in a new Amarok, that this is worthy of putting on the list and coming down and having a look.
better experience than explain.
You summarised it so well. Yeah. Well, it's great to talk about. I think our whole objective is really about being part of the Cricks Volkswagen family. We can welcome people in, and it's not just sell you the car and see you later. We've got service packages that help you. Actually, Amarok services are only once every 20,000 Ks now, aren't they? Once a year or 20,000 kilometres. So you get a little bit more time in the vehicle if you're doing a lot of Ks before you have to duck in for a service.
Yep.
But the support there even is terrific. That's how the dealership's structured. A bit of Saturday servicing to help out any tradies and so on.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a bit of a one-stop shop from that perspective, but definitely welcome into the family, and it changes our attitude about how we deal with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. It's been good.
Thank you.
Touched on a few things, and yeah, we'll look forward to some success with Amarok into the future.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
This has been the Cricks Volkswagen podcast on everything Amarok. Let your journey begin.